So, welcome, gentlemen. How's everybody today?
Thank you for asking.
Good, thank you. Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So we're halfway through our industry week, and it's been a pretty interesting time to get to here. As I've explained, we've got different viewers on every day, although I know some people are tragics and are dialing in every single day this week, and that's great. But just for the people that are new today, this industry week has come about as a result of the open days that we started back in 2016, which was a great concept, and that worked really well for us. And we took that show on the road so that we could showcase to our members and non-members alike what sorts of services and products that our suppliers could provide into this business. So we were doing that very happily around Australia and New Zealand, and then COVID struck, which has pulled us all back in and back into our offices. Well, probably for people, if you're living in Melbourne, it's not even your offices, you know, it's your dining room, it's your lounge room, it's your kitchen, it's your second bedroom. And so here we all are now faced with taking the concept of an open day or an industry day into an entire week. And we've divided that up so that we can have these 1 hour sessions each day. So thanks for everyone for coming along on our journey. So as we work through the week, we've been wanting to build the picture or the story of storage, and we've done that through Monday with our design and construction guys on board, discussing what it takes to design and construct a first-class facility. And then yesterday we heard a little bit more on the construction side of things with the construction extras and looking into things like installing lifts and retrofitting or top-ups to facilities. And then moving on from there, we're now faced with a very interesting topic today in software and security. So I'm looking forward to that. And then tomorrow we're going to delve into into store management and to web design. And then Friday, we're going to have a good wrap up with the complete story of storage. We're also going to invite my counterpart in Asia to come on board as well and give us a bit of a roundup on what's happening in Asia at this time. They've got an upcoming convention, and we'll showcase that for everybody. But before we get into introducing all of our panelists today, I do want to make special mention of the Self-Storage Association's partners. We've got Busy Boxes and More, Storeco, Universal Storage Containers, STORMAN Software, who we have on board today, and Southwell Lifts and Hoists. Now to our panelists for today, and a great lineup there. We've got Jono, who is up in Brisbane, Jono Wilden with STORMAN. We've got Martin Coote in Sydney from Lock Distributors, and Jason Kane from Sentinel Storage Systems, and he's in Melbourne. So welcome to the three gentlemen, and just let me put out a few reminders there to everyone that we're recording these sessions each day, and they will go up onto our website soon. So we're hoping they'll be available. I think they're starting to already come back, but be available definitely next week for everyone. If our panelists have got any questions for our panelists, please submit them through the Q&A section of the Zoom call today, please. And what we'll do is we're going through, we'll try and answer those in sync with the speaker that's there at the time. So, and we are going to be playing one short video now. So can I suggest that if you're having trouble connecting, you might need to hotspot to your phone, but certainly turn up your volume, and let's get on with introducing our first panelist today, and that is Jonathan Wilden from STORMAN Software. Over to you, Brian.
STORMAN Cloud is STORMAN's self-storage management software. It's 100% web-based, easy to use, and features a clean, crisp, beautifully designed interface. STORMAN Cloud has all the features you need to effectively run your facility, It helps your staff sell more by automating mundane tasks, saving time and freeing up your staff to concentrate on selling. STORMAN Cloud takes care of overnight processing for you too, like billing and sending notifications to your customers. Our software integrates with your website, and we provide award-winning payment solutions that makes it easy for your customers to pay you. Have your customers sign their storage agreements electronically and move in online 24/7. STORMAN Cloud features integration with access control systems, an interactive sitemap, a variety of reports, and the ability to export to popular accounting software such as MyOb, Sage, QuickBooks, and more. Our local STORMAN Cloud support is included in your subscription and has everything you need to succeed at an affordable price. STORMAN Cloud, making it easy for you to run your self-storage facility.
Thank you and welcome to Jono. Are you happy if I call you Jono? Jono?
Yeah, Jono's good. Thanks for that. That was a good video. And I'll just make a mention that was my hand and my iPad in that filming.
Very personalised. Thank you very much. All right. So our next speaker today that I'd like to introduce is Jason Kane. So Jason, I've got a short bio here on you. Nothing's when I say that Jason's been around for a very long time, 20 years in the management of self-storage facilities in Australia and the UK, and has assisted industry valuers by reviewing storage operations. He's been an SSAA board member representing the service members of the association, and has operated his own business specialising in self-storage security, in addition to offering hundreds of self-storage operators advice. And if we know Jason, we know he's never short on advice. So just a little bit more on Jason though. Jason and his team have positioned themselves to be a truly one-stop shop in security. In the past month, Jason has engaged a general manager to operate Sentinel Australasia so that he can focus on his latest challenge, which is the Australasian distribution rights for PTI. So today's webinar will allow for a comprehensive insight into what security systems are expected by clients and what's available to give you a unique selling proposition. What you require to run your facility remotely if required, which is a very hot topic these days, and what's available in the months and years ahead. So welcome, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks.
Right, and I would then like to also introduce Martin Coote. So Martin, just wait there a moment and we will just dial you in here. I want to hear all about lock distributors. It's great to have you on board. What's it like in Sydney today, Martin?
It's a little bit overcast actually. And cooler. It was a big hot day, 31 degrees yesterday, and so it's nice to have it cooled off.
So can I tell you that Melbourne is blue skies and very sunny, and I'm happy to tell a Sydney side of that.
Perfect every day.
Yeah.
Perfect every day, except when it's not. Okay. So lock distributors. So we've got, they began as a wholesaler of lock and security products over 30 years ago, and they've supplied padlocks and facility management accessories to the self-storage operators from the early days of the industry. Their Able brand products, and I think a lot of people are very familiar with the Able brand, are used across Australia and New Zealand and are renowned for their quality and for being especially designed for self-storage applications. Lock Distributors also supplies branded products to many of the large operators, including Storage King and National Storage. Outside of storage, Lock Distributors supplies to the vending, gaming, entertainment and other industries with their products trusted by Coca-Cola and Woolworths. Their locksmithing and security division deals with many high-level commercial and government clients, including defence. The founders, Elaine Coote and her late husband, Robert, have been active members of the association, the SSAA, from its very beginning. Elaine has been made a life member. That was in 2018 up at the convention in Brisbane. Yes. Their son, Martin, who joins us today, is now leading the business with its current, and he is a current SSA board member. As a family business, they love supporting a wide range of people in the self-storage industry and are only too happy to advise new entrants on security solutions. So welcome to Martin. Thank you.
Thanks.
So let's now I think we need to turn to what we want to discuss today. And with this interesting week that we've got, our third session is going to concentrate on software and security. And so I want to hear from you guys, you know, what you consider to be the bare minimum when it comes to security. And then moving on from that, well, what's going to be the latest technology that will keep self-storage facilities safe? Also, you know, what features of software management will offer management that can be offered that deliver lasting benefits to our customers and in turn their customers, because at the end of the day, it's the customer who's paying this money that's most important here. So let's just turn to, and I'm going to, I think, turn to you, Jason, first with my first question. And when I get that in front of me, then I'll know which question I'm going to ask you, Jason. All right, so with regard to security, what's a standard level that a self-storage owner, self-storage facility owner should consider when they're building a facility?
Certainly shifted over the space of the last couple of years, and with the onslaught of COVID, which the country and the world has experienced, security levels of heightened. There's just a general perception of turning around and trying to be prepared for what was inevitably going to be having to run your storage facility remotely. Mm-hmm. And we traditionally really didn't have to think about that in the depth that we have, you know, recently. There were certainly operators that were talking about having a centralized hub and then the ability of being able to run call it a cluster of stores. Mm-hmm. But as a general rule, you know, that was for a select few, and a majority of people, you know, were relying upon a manager turning up for work every day and controlling the premises in the way that they'd done for many years previously. So the standard now is that for anything that we're tendering for or anything that we're going back and correcting, you know, you've got to start with a real good piece of security software that interfaces back into the likes of STORMAN and other managerial software systems there. So you create move-in, and the access control system lets people in automatically, and versus moving them out and locking them out if they haven't paid or if there's some kind of threat, so to speak. So access control is certainly a big part of that, letting people being able to move in or access and egress the storage facility of their own desire. Unit alarms, there was a little bit of a trend moving away from individual unit alarms, but it's actually come back where that's now the standard. You know, it's the old analogy that you can put additional CCTV cameras into your storage facility, but you're potentially looking at things retrospectively through CCTV. With an individual unit alarm, you know within seconds if there's been a breach within your facility. That gives people peace of mind, in particular when the store isn't going to be manned in the same hours as to when the office is going to be manned. So offering out-of-hour access or weekend access. CCTV has been bolstered. There's no doubt about it. And we'll talk about a formula a little bit later, but CCTV is a good way of keeping the honest people honest, and a good way of being able to recognise dumb people that really don't have a great deal of forethought. But it's a deterrent by all means. And a monitored service is becoming more and more important too. So the software today, if there's a breach, for example, and a unit alarm goes off, it has the ability of being able to send through a push notification or a text message and or an email. But the insurance companies like the fact that it's all wired back into an office alarm panel, which is then monitored by a security control room. So they're kind of the four areas that are the standard, but certainly not to be discounted is high quality fencing is something that should be invested upon straight away, and as is a good reliable gate system which is controlled by some credible access control software and hardware, and there's been a really big push in regards to contingencies, particularly why we haven't been staffing those stores to make sure that battery backup is quite evident.
Okay, Jason, so just to remember that there'll be some people online today that are brand new to this game and may not understand all that terminology, but basically you're saying that security cameras installed around the site, and that would be part of your planning to obviously work out where they have to go so that you get the best I suppose, vision if you need to go back and have a look at something on a camera. So that's being recorded. You're talking about security fencing. So there's some sort of an electronic gate, and that's the access control you're talking to. So people would perhaps have a PIN number or a swipe card to get into the site and back out again. Okay. You're linking your software with the likes of someone like STORMAN because they're managing the business, correct? And then these individual alarms. Now, probably we need to point out now that the alarms, and I probably don't want to delve into this too much, but there's very much a difference between inner city and dense population compared to someone out in a country area or a remote area, and especially if they're still manning their facility, but the levels of security can be quite different for that reason, can't they?
Yeah, there's two elements to that. One of which is environmental, which is basically that you could argue that, in a regional town, there's less crime, for example, or something that's further out of Melbourne. And the other thing to take into consideration is the expectation of the actual client. Self-storage, as it's starting to become better known and people are more up to date as to what self-storage is, we've stopped educating people in the self-storage industry as to what the product can be used for, and they've actually already identified that. So they have an expectation, and a lot of customers, their expectation is the standard that I alluded to before. And then, of course, there's another element of it as well. And the other element is that the cost savings associated with making that investment so that you don't have to be as intense to have security guards visit and maintain breakdowns and probably more so last but not least is also the staff. I mean, a good way of retaining staff and have them work inside an environment which they enjoy working at is their ability of being able to have all of those unique selling propositions and those resources available, which they're able to promote to their customer base. But more so, if something happens, they're able to manage a potential fallout. Like if a unit was broken into and they are able to respond to that quickly, then they could potentially contain any damage of, maybe appearing in the local paper, for example, or having somebody ring back a talkback station, etc.
So, John, I'm going to switch to you now. So how does your software, how does that help with safety and security? What does it offer?
I think if you asked me this about a year ago, it would have been a very different answer, but I think contactless is definitely a big thing at the moment, especially with COVID, especially for this whole year. And that's for keeping customers and staff safe. So with STORMAN, you can have your customers sign up for storage online. You can have them come in store if you're allowed to still be open. You can have an iPad in store that they can fill in their details, sign their contract online, and they receive this via email. Or again, directly from your website, or you can send them a link straight from STORMAN. They can click on that link and fill out their details in kind of the comfort of their own home. Which also helps if you're a busy store. You could send out 3 or 4 sign up links, have 4 or 5 people sign up, already have their paperwork completed, and they just turn up on Saturday ready to move in when you only have a temporary staff member working. So definitely keeping customers and staff safe there. For payments, and like you said, Jason, if your facility gets broken into, if you've got all your customers set up on what we call auto pay, where you're just taking the money out of the store's bank account or credit card automatically, that means you're handling less cash. If you were to have a break-in, God forbid, you're not going to, you know, so they rip out the till, they're going to get maybe $100. And it's a set and forget method. And I think customers expect this now. You know, you can sign up to a gym, bang in your credit card details, and you just don't think about it for 2 years, and you just always go. You know, you can always access it. Just making it easy for your customers and easy for your staff, paying online, sending out reminder emails or text messages, and they can pay by clicking on a link to a payment portal. And then coming back to you, Jason, access control as well. That's a huge one for security, keeping your customers safe, your staff safe, but your facility safe as well. And the other one, if you have your access control system set up to manage, say, your lights in different time zones, you can make your customers feel safe by knowing that when they enter in their PIN number, the lights in the building that they're going into, where their unit is, the lights are going to light up. So having all your customers in STORMAN with their PIN numbers and the time zones set, that will communicate to Sentinel, PTI, any other access control system, and basically allow the customer in and only access their unit. And again, make them feel safe if they're accessing kind of 11 o'clock, midnight, those kind of out of hours times. And then the other side, which everyone seems to forget about, so you've got keeping your customers safe, keeping your staff safe, but then keeping your data safe as well. So we had this a little while ago. We had a customer that got hit by a ransomware virus. So all of the computers in their office got basically encrypted, and they couldn't access anything. Luckily, they were using STORMAN Cloud, so they went down the road, they bought a new PC, they logged into STORMAN Cloud, and they had all their storage data there, all the invoices, all the billing, all the customers, all the credit cards, everything was still safe because it was stored in the cloud. And I think that day, that afternoon, Jason Dallas jumped on the phone, he jumped in, he reinstalled Sentinel, and the gate was working again.
Dallas is our level 2 support guy.
Yeah. So they lost everything, and they still had to set up all their emails and all their documents and Outlook and Microsoft Office and things, but all their core storage data was safe because it was stored in the cloud.
Wow. So I think you've been sort of answering the next question, which I was going to ask you about, which was, you know, the benefits for your store, you know, for the facility owners and their customers. But I think you've really covered that off now for me already.
Yep.
So I'm now going to switch to you, Martin, because we are chatting about security, and although we've been going down the path of being able to secure the perimeter, and then the storers coming in, and then they're now at their locked unit. The locks play a fairly big part in security. So perhaps you could explain a little bit more and what you can offer through your business.
Yeah, thanks, Susan, and thanks, guys. I think the one thing with locks.
Excuse me, Martin, you're a little bit soft there, so maybe a bit closer to your microphone.
Sorry, okay. Is that better?
A little bit, not a lot.
So the thing with padlocks, which is really what we're talking about here, is the final part of the chain of security that you're setting up in any facility. So you've got the as you say, the fences, the access control, the cameras, all of these sorts of things that are really very important in a modern facility. But then that final step is the lock that the storer themselves is able to put on their unit, which has a practical effect, obviously, to lock up their goods, but it also has a legal effect at which some people new to the industry might not be aware of, with the relationship between storer and the facility. It's very important that those are kept at arm's length, and so each storer should be in control of the access to their unit. And the easiest way to do that, the simplest way to do that, is by putting a padlock on it, which you then retain the keys for, or you know the code if it's a combination style padlock. So those are the sort of main points around the padlocks and the types of products that we supply to facilities to provide to their customers. So that's something there. The other side of that, or there's two other points. One is that you're selling those to your customers. So that's a revenue stream, and it's a good revenue stream that you've got, particularly in the early days of the business, or just as it chugs along, and that money can be reinvested back into the business in different ways. But the other side of it is also having the accessories and the type of facility management products that we also offer, and that allows the facilities to then manage the facilities better. One of those is vacant unit locks. So it's really, really important to make sure that all of your units are locked, whether that's by having a storer in it, which is preferable, of course. That's what you have the facility for. But if there's no one in there, you need to actually make sure that that's secure. People can stick rubbish in there. They can move into another unit, but and you don't know until one day you go to rent that out and someone lifts the door and there's stuff in there. So you just want to keep those secure. Vacant unit locks are a very simple way of doing that. They come in a range of colours, and a lot of facilities use those colours as a code to know where that particular unit is up to. So, for example, if someone's just moved out and it needs a clean before it's then let for another storer, you put a red one on. When it's ready to go, you put a green one on. Things like that. And it gives the staff who are actually on site and who should be, again, it's part of a compliance thing, best practice to be walking around the facility on a daily basis, just making sure that everything's okay, that when they're doing those site checks, they can see very quickly whether everything's really in order and you know the units are where they should be. Mm-hmm. The other thing, just quickly, is you'll have bad storers. It's a fact of life, unfortunately, and some people will need to be locked out. So the ability to overlock people, and there's a number of different tools that are available for that, from special padlocks that have a message written on them that constitutes break and enter if they take that off, and also special claw-like tools that can go around multiple padlocks when someone thinks that they're going to outsmart you by putting extra padlocks on the unit, and then you can outsmart them. So those are sort of the basic things for a facility to operate both themselves and the management, and then things to provide for their customer so that their customer can get the best out of storage.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Martin. Now, something that I'm going to flip to you, Jono, and we've been talking about your software features benefiting storage operators and owners. Was there something more there that you wanted to elaborate on?
Yeah, I think I'd mentioned a few of the items, but STORMAN as a whole, it's got keeping your customers and your customers and your staff safe with the contactless move-ins. Online move-ins from websites. You could integrate your own website with STORMAN, so you could kind of build your own box shop if you wanted to, send out deliveries. The integrated payment side, I think obviously access control integration with Sentinel, PTI, and the others. We've got a really nice facility map as well, which is especially good, especially if you're working from home or away from the office. You may even have a call center where you can actually upload images against each of the units, so your staff or the call center staff know exactly what they're looking at, so when they describe it to the customer. And sales and marketing reports, capturing customer information, where they came from, how long they've been with you, how long it takes to re-rent a unit that's been moved out based on its size, and of course local support, local sales and support based in Australia and Brisbane and New Zealand. Okay,
all right, thanks, Jono. So, Martin, while we were chatting about locks in particular, what really makes it so important to actually use, say, a product that's been specifically designed for self-storage?
Yeah, that was something that came up in the very early days of the industry, and that my father, being a locksmith, really was keen to solve and to address. And that's that. You go along to a local hardware store, as any store could, or even a facility naively in the past used to do. You'd go along and you'd grab padlocks off the shelf there and then sell those to customers. The chances are, however, that customers who have bought one of those padlocks from that pack could take their key and open another padlock on an adjacent unit, and that really opens you up to a lot of risk. And so one of the things, and I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest themes of what we're talking about today is risk and managing your risk, because that's what you have security for, and obviously the software to complement that. So we were able to make sure that, using the sort of inner workings of the locks, that they're specially designed for the storage industry, so that kind of thing just will never happen. You'll never have someone who can access one of our padlocks using a key from one of the other ones that has been sold on site, or indeed anywhere else really in the country.
Okay. Well, that's a relief. I'm glad that doesn't happen. Jason, let's talk some money. I think we need to know what sort of a budget, and this would be, I'm going to talk about a new build. So, you know, if I was to be building a new facility, and sure, I know that it's going to depend on the size of it, whether it's, 50 units or 1,000 units. What sort of budget would someone need to be putting aside for security if they're considering a new build?
Sure, it's the $64,000 question. That
yes.
$64,000, I suppose. But listen, when we go back and we review our quotes, and obviously that's inclusive of the installation of gear, and you talk about access control, unit alarm, software, CCTV and an office alarm. Typically the budget for a store, which is around about that 150 unit mark, through to arguably 500 units, typically works out your budget around about $260 per unit as a bit of a rule of thumb. Things can obviously escalate from there depending upon introducing things like lighting control, elevator control, and what we would deem as being above the standard number of CCTV cameras that would be installed inside a storage facility. If you take that into consideration, roughly around about $130 of that, let's say $250, $260 is actually the component of alarming a specific self-storage unit. Now, when you're talking about a reduced number of the storage units, like let's say a stage one in a regional centre, which might be 50 units, then that number fluctuates, but not to a magnitude where you'd need to budget above anything at around about $280 now per unit, I should say. And that cost for some operators is a difficult cost to be able to budget for and fathom. But the real costs are us coming in retrospectively after a build has taken place, and responding, for example, to break-ins that are happening within a particular facility and having to retrofit unit alarms. And there's a couple of ways of doing that, but you're not only inconveniencing and disrupting customers in order to be able to have access to their unit, but there's also a component that you need to realise in moving people's goods out so that you can actually get inside the unit to do the install. If you're looking at a traditional wired product, there are wireless products which are available, but the reality is that you go for a wired product if you can, typically before anything else. But yeah, as a budget, I mean, the builders that we work with, the Storcos of this world are a major sponsor, and others that are out there. Typically that's the number that we try to achieve, and then it depends upon the expectation of the operator or the manager or the brand or whatever in regards to what they want to see happen. We have a brand at the moment that we do security work for, and they typically, in a footprint of, let's say, 400 units, they demand 50 cameras, CCTV cameras. And then we have some other brand where that number is closer to 20. So you can imagine the prices actually fluctuate just depending upon what their expectations are and what they're trying to achieve, in the marketplace.
Okay. So in our conversation yesterday, when we were speaking to Steel Storage and we were talking to Southwell and Tory Indoors, we spent a bit of time talking about, well, they call it top-ups, but retrofitting, improvements to your site. Yeah. So you talked about, these individual unit alarms. Okay, storage has been around for a while in this country, probably 40 years. The association celebrating 30 years. So we know that we've got facilities that are 30 and 40 years old.
Yeah.
They certainly didn't have this sort of security then that we've certainly got now. And if you've got a facility that you want to then go back, retrofit unit alarms, can that be done? How easy is it to do? Or is it going to just cost so much money that it's too difficult?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mentioned before that if you've got a brand new storage facility that is untenanted, and let's face it, the industry's evolved where that'll never replicate again. So vacant once, we hope, on a global stage, which is when you've completed or you're building the storage facility. So, we did a project which was 618 units recently for a facility that was having some issues with break-ins, and they chucked copious amounts of CCTV at it, and they were having guards call in. But inevitably, it resulted in the only way that they were going to make the problem go away was to actually install individual unit alarms. And you can appreciate, you open up one of the customer's units with permission, and that's something that we may talk about later, but you've got an installer there, and then you've also almost got a removalist there, because some units are stacked to the rafters. The minute that you open up the swing door or a roller door, stuff falls out, So in our case, and it was a Perth site, but in our case, for example, over in Perth, by the time that the job was completed, it literally took 2 months, 5 days a week, 2 people on site, twice. So we shifted from that being $135 a unit if it was a vacant new build, into the magnitude of, literally going roughly around about that $220 mark. And to be honest, I think that was a good outcome for the client. Don't get me wrong, we opened up some units, or the installers opened up some units, and they were half full. But for as many of those that there were plenty of others that were fully stocked. So, but there is a wireless alternative, and it attaches to the outside of a roller door. You don't need to get inside a roller door, and it transmits wirelessly. It's an extremely good product. It's an alternative to hard wiring. But it's a lot more cost prohibitive. You pay for that technology, and of course, wireless devices need batteries to operate. So there's an ongoing cost associated with having to maintain that type of technology. And you tend to say, oh, I've got a couple of batteries failing out of my 200 or 300 individual wireless, reads. So that's usually the catalyst to then have your manager or a tech come in, mostly a tech, to then swap all of those batteries out. And, by the time that you have somebody run around and do that, and you absorb the price of $5 or $6 for a battery, and and you're managing that process, you would try to do a lot better legacy planning than have that to be your agenda at the time that you build.
Okay. So I'm going to switch to you now, Jono, because this sounds interesting that, okay, something's now been retrofitted and they've got the alarm set for each door in the facility.
Yep.
But how does that then match in with the, say, the likes of the STORMAN software or, other software products that people might be using to manage their facility? How does that all work?
Yep. I think if you're retrofitting a facility or you're upgrading, adding on more units, building another building, you've just finished another level, or even if you're taking over an existing facility or again starting new from scratch, I think software and security is definitely, you want to hit it day one. You want to have it set up and running, working from day one, because otherwise you're never going to get to it. If you're upgrading or taking over another facility, you're going to be buying new signage, you're going to be buying new trucks, you may end up repainting the entire building. There's going to be constant maintenance. You may end up replacing, roller doors and things. You're just never going to get around to getting the software set up if you don't do it straight away. So I think, whether you're retrofitting, starting a new, upgrading, or purchasing an existing facility, I think get the software in there straight away. If you're buying a whole new facility, go out and buy 3 iPads. Let your staff do their regular unit checks, their daily walkarounds with an iPad. Get them signing up new customers on iPads. Give your website a bit of a refresh and get your customers signing up online. If you don't do it straight away, you might work out of Excel, a spreadsheet. You might have a book. You might have Xero, and then by the time you get too big and you outgrow those products, it's going to be too much effort to switch to software. So I think, have your software and security set up, upgraded, get the latest version on day one of your retrofit or your upgrade or your new build.
So, Jono, this is a perfect time. I've got a question from Dino.
Yep.
And he's running STORMAN and he wants to know how easy is it to migrate from, he's calling it Storage 1 to the cloud version.
Migrate from Storage 1 to the cloud version. So they must be using the legacy product STORMAN 1. Very easy. Give us a call. We'll send you an email if we can get the email address after this. 1 or 2 hours max. Yeah, we'll have a conversation, but it is easy. It's a very easy change. We can definitely get you set up.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, so Martin, you've been sitting over there very quietly and behaving yourself. That's great, but you talked about padlocks before, and I know that you do sell a range. I'd love to actually show some pictures of those, but normally when we have these live events, you bring along your whole suitcase full of locks. I don't know how you pay for all of the excess baggage, but that's your problem, I'm guessing. But how can these locks actually offset costs for running someone's business? What's the benefits there?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there's the value add of having the padlocks and what you pay for them wholesale versus what you retail those for. And really on that, the sky's the limit. I saw recently, and I kind of was a little bit taken aback that something that that wholesales from us for around $9 was being sold for, I think it was $65. Wow. And I mean, obviously, this is from a long-standing company, so they're obviously making the money out of that. So that's great, really. I mean, good on them in a sense that they're able to justify that, and that's what it comes down to some degree, is being able to communicate really effectively with your customers, and so that is also one of those touch points between the customer, between the storer and the facility and the operators there. So having good staff, having staff who are trained, and we're happy to provide training and support for any staff member to introduce them to the range and to give them all of the benefits of the different types of lock and what they might need in their facility overall. But it's those points of contact that you have between the customer and the facility. And that doesn't necessarily, I know we started off talking about COVID and having contactless signups and things like that. You can still do that and provide that information and that support. That's what phones are for. That's what information on your website's for. That's what Zooms are for. That's what, and online signups. Everything can be included, including the padlock itself, which is something that we often suggest including as part of the sign-up pack as an opt-out, because a lot of people turn up to storage, they don't have a padlock with them, and so of course here it is, rather than having them go off-site down to Bunnings or something to get something, you wouldn't want them going off-site to get any of the other products, or you wouldn't want to send them to a competitor. So have it there, make the case for it, and make the money out of it at the same time. It makes good business sense, and it makes good sense from a security perspective.
And we often call it, the merchandise sales, our box shop. And look, it doesn't have to be bigger than Ben-Hur. You can have a few things on display in even a small office environment. And the thing is that if you can provide the one-stop shop, which has got the locks, it's got the boxes and the bubble wrap and the wrapping paper and the masking tape and the packing knife and whatever it is that they need, then you're right, they're not going off somewhere else. And you're inviting them even to change their mind if they have to go away, and you certainly don't want that when you're trying to seal a deal and sell someone a storage unit. So having all that available. The other thing that I've noticed a lot of the facilities are doing at this time is click and collect, in COVID times. So as you say, they are able to make those sales and then package up what it is the customer wants. And so it's just like a lot of the other retail outlets, particularly in Victoria, click and collect has been a big thing, and storage facilities have jumped on board and done exactly the same thing. Have designated times that people come in and collect their items. They've already paid for them and away they go. So it's made it for seamless business.
That's right. And if you have, there's a very simple way. If you've got someone who wants to come in after hours, you can use a security seal, which we offer. It's something that you can, so you put the padlock, which is all, again, must be sealed in a package when it when the customer receives it. You put that inside the unit that they're going to rent with their paperwork and everything like that. You close up the unit and then you put this security seal onto it. And once it's clicked closed, the only way to get it off is to break it. And it has a unique code on the side of it. So you just snap a photo of that and you record it in your software system, obviously against that customer's file. They come in, they snap it off, they're in, and they've got all of their stuff inside. But you can even leave your boxes in there, things like that. Yeah. So it's a simple solution for what otherwise could be a complex problem.
So it's a very personalised click and collect, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, I might switch to you now. Let's look into the future. And we felt like in this last 6 months, we're probably doing a lot of looking into the future. But from the point of view of self-storage security, what's coming our way?
I think recently there's certainly been a more leaning towards two fundamental things. The first one is a mobile phone app that both the operator can use and also the customer can use. We're talking about touchless before. That's a good way of somebody being able to get into a storage facility and out of a storage facility and deactivate their own individual unit alarm, etc., by the methodology or the method of now using a smartphone. That's not for everybody, but that technology is now available and it's being further enhanced, even as we're speaking. Probably the most talked about thing in the industry of what's being developed at the moment and it is out there is automated door locks, where people have the ability of being able to use an application to get into the storage facility, but also to be able to manage their locks on their on their doors, and that's been talked about a fair bit. There's some argument around our industry being a space provider and how sound that software is and the credibility that surrounds that product in regards to consideration as to the traditional way of locking a unit versus where the technology is trying to lead us. And it's exciting in the industry because we haven't really seen a lot of new technology enter into the security industry. Things have evolved, but they're things that have worked well, So, and Martin and I speak about this a little bit in regards to, a padlock being, traditional and quite sound, and it ticks a lot of boxes. And we're getting some noise in regards to some people thinking that, what you would perhaps see on a hotel door could be adopted, in the self-storage industry. And they're conversations that we continue to have. The challenge with that, of course, is making sure that the customer finds comfort in electronic locks, versus them having a padlock and having the only 3 keys that Martin was talking about before in order to be able to control that, and clearly, if the worst case scenario happened and somebody broke into a unit, it's pretty evident if there's a padlock laying on the ground that's been bolt cutted, not your padlock, Martin, of course, but it's quite evident that somebody's forced their way into the unit, and it's to be argued that there's a lot more justification that would have to be given to authorities and the client if a lock didn't exist, So that's an exciting conversation. We have this conversation with our customers regularly, and it's inevitable that some operators are trialing this at the moment, and I'll leave it for them to kind of review over time because it's still very early in the piece, but nevertheless, it's exciting because it's there. I mentioned before, our business at the moment literally revolves around people turning around and saying, you know what, we weren't there every day during COVID, and as a byproduct of that, we don't necessarily want to have to go back to those staffing levels, and I'm sorry for the managers out there that are tuned in today, but there's some operators that are turning around and saying, we can run run 2 stores with a manager, and develop better CCTV presence and our ability of being able to keep our eye on things. And I think, it's inevitable for the industry too, that we're going to see a lot more AI, artificial intelligence. There's, we're working with companies at the moment that, are pretty convinced that, a customer should be able to present themselves at a store with an expectation that there is a staff member on site, and they're opening up a door to what looks like an office door, but instead it's almost like an air seal, and they're greeted and prompted by somebody who can be visually seen on a screen, who, arguably has some local knowledge, but in essence, they're like a video call center. And that presents some security issues, in also considerations in regards to, are we comfortable saying to a person who we really know very little about, that if they go to the door on the left and opened it up and walk down the corridor and turn left, they can actually go and have a look at a unit which the operator believes that they're suited for. And that conversation's exciting for us to be able to have. And I think, the last conference, Susan, you'll recall, in Cairns is that there was a flavour of that, and that's now starting to be spoken about more so in the Australasian region. And to be honest, there's 3 or 4 brands out there at the moment which are driving that and encouraging us to work with them to make sure that the security offsets what it is that they want to do in that space. And they're conversations, of course, that that Jono and other software providers will be working with them as well.
Yes, that's right, Jason. So we did touch on that last year, and we are seeing more and more in the space, robotics coming into things, but also the electronic locks. So I think there's always going to be very much the traditional lock and key, but that new technology in electronic locks, which the association's also taken a very close look at, and in the next edition of the Insider that's probably about hitting your desk now, I encourage you to actually read that article. We've done some research with our external lawyers, Hunt and Hunt, and made some adjustments to our self-storage agreements. So very much, and that's the latest agreement. So I'd very much encourage members to get on board with that and check that out. But yes, it's going to be changes coming our way, and we have to be ready to embrace all of those and move forward if that's what some facilities choose to do. So is there anything, Jono, with regard to self-storage software management coming up in the future that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I think, and I know we don't have too much time left, but I think everything's definitely hitting mobile app, mobile, smartphone, and online. You can unlock your phone just by looking at it. I don't know if we'll ever get to facial recognition to unlock your individual units. We might in a couple of years, but definitely mobile app. With Janice and Nokia, you can now arrive to a facility. You don't even need to have a PIN number for the gate. You just tap your phone. You walk straight up to your unit, you tap your phone, and the unit unlocks. So we're actually almost getting rid of padlocks in a way, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but that's definitely something coming. And I think just everything online, mobile accessible, and automated. We've got a feature where if you arrive to the gate, whether it's PTI, Sentinel, whatever you're using, if you type in your PIN number, you may have forgotten to pay online. That will talk to STORMAN, the management software, and say, hey, this person's overdue, and it'll automatically send them a text and say, hey, you may not have realized you're overdue. You're actually locked out. Click on this link to pay online. They'll just sit in their car, get their credit card out, they can pay online. The gate will open a couple of minutes later. They don't even need to get out and go and see a staff member to pay to get back in. So I think definitely online, mobile, and automated is where we're heading.
It's definitely coming our way. Martin, can you give us some wrap-up comments, please?
Well, I think that the advancement of technology is a really positive thing in all regards, but it also needs to be taken in context of the market, what consumers want, and what storage operators maybe should be providing as a matter of best practice. So one of those things, all of those things need to be taken into consideration, including the fact that most of this technology is driven out of America, developed out of America, which has a different mindset around a lot of these things. And I think maybe just as a point of caution, looking objectively at the whole situation, it's all very well to say that you want to have 24-hour access and 24-hour signups, but do you really want the people, the storers who want to sign up at 3 a.m? Is there a reason that they don't want to be seen and meet people? So those are sort of aspects of security that also need to be taken in consideration as far as whether it's a positive move to streamline everything to that degree. But at the same time, it's really good to see innovation. And to see that people who've been in the industry for a long time, who are very pro the industry and really care about storage and storers, are taking the lead on all of this.
We could talk for some time, I think, about people that suffer from insomnia, or is it really a criminal at 3 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, I think there's arguments for both sides of that one, and many other things which we probably can't get to absolutely everything today. However, I do want to thank you. But first of all, I'd like to remind our members and anyone online who is not a member of the association of the benefits of membership. We're going to play a very quick video for you, and then we're going to wrap up and say goodbye to everybody. So Brian, over to you.
Are you ready to get ahead in the storage industry? The Self-Storage Association of Australasia membership has its perks. Membership connects you with peers in the self-storage community, along with providing access to a wide range of high-quality benefits and services. The SSAA helps improve your business and build credibility, which in turn makes your business shine in today's competitive market. Visit selfstorage.org.au for more information.
So thank you. And to wrap up today, I'd like to say thank you very much to Jonathan Wilden from STORMAN. And Jonathan, if you wouldn't mind, just have you got a mobile number you'd like to share, or a contact number you'd like to share for STORMAN if people would like to contact you directly?
Yeah, they can get me just cloud@storman.com.
Okay,
Nice
right.
and easy. No E in Storman.
Okay. And Martin, have you got a number or a contact you would share with everybody?
My mobile 0417 283 425.
Thank you, Martin. And Jason?
1300 852 117.
All right then. So thank you very much to everyone who dialed in today, had a listen. Remember that we will be back online again tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, because we are on daylight saving now. And our conversation tomorrow will centre on store management and on web design. So look forward to that and see you all tomorrow. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye.
Thank you again.
Thank you. See ya.